Awesome. Well, we got so much to chat about, not enough time. I know we lost a little bit up the top, but I think there's still a lot of great ground I want to cover with everyone today that's going to bring a lot of value, just building on things we learned before. So, if you were around for the previous session, you experienced 5 days, AI in five. Let me know in the comments what you remember from that. Do you remember anything from that? It feels like it was like a year ago, right? Or was it last week? Let me know. There we go. I see the comments flowing in. So again, appreciate the team. Like really got to give a shout out to the team by the way, because while I was having technical issues, shout out to Paola was holding it down in the comments, Nagar as well. So appreciate everyone who behind the scenes kind of make it happen as we got this rolling today. So you're wondering, day five is done. The question is what next? And so what you're here to do, I think, is something I wanted to share with you and why this exists before we jumped right into it. And that is like we really showed out, like insanely showed out to a point to where it was really obvious that this is something that we should be leaning into more. So I looked at the data. Now, this is just a screenshot from the last session. But again, remember, this only shows 1/6 of the total submissions. So, like, what was done most out of all the things is people let us know clearly that you guys are creative. You're making stuff, you're making content, you're making product ideas, you're making songs, you're making magazine covers. There was so much being made that it was clear that we wanted to lean into this. We wanted to double down on this and really support this mantra. And in conjunction with this, we got tons of messages from folks saying, "Hey, is there a way we can continue to be more practical? Can we learn some more skill sets to implement this?" You know, some people are like the vibe coding might have been a little over my head, but I'm interested. I want to know more. I want to replicate what I learned. So there was just tons of messages and just general communication on how do we build on this. So that's what we looked at, and we said, you know what? Let's make our showcase about you. So for those who know, you've probably seen it inside of the academy. If you go to the academy, you'll see there's another tab under the main course where you can see the details of different projects that are there today. Right now, today, that's only like web projects from our hackathon that we did. I mean, from our vibe coding courses that we did before. But we're opening that up. The idea is that you should be able to publish your videos there. You should be able to get any prompts that other people use there. Some people say like, "Hey, I love the things I saw. Can I get access to the prompts that other people use?" So I'm really excited to share with you. Number one, let me know what you think in the chat. You know, you're interested in this, but we read you, we heard the message, and we said let's double down on you. So you'll have a place where you can get resources, you can post your work, as well as you can use projects and content that's made by other students. So let me see. I see 25 messages in the chat. So people are obviously thinking about that. Agree, would love that. It's great. And my team really enjoyed it. So many tools. So people are sharing like what they're interested in and how they liked it. Um, if you're interested in, working today or like learning some skills and building on what you learned, you're in the right place. And so we're going to be able to communicate, collaborate, share together. And that's what this whole session is about. Smaller, shorter kind of engagement, but we go deeper on certain tools and technologies. And so for you coming out of this, what we want to do is establish or enable each one of you to go beyond your intro to generative AI initiation, so just getting started, to becoming active publishers who can solve problems in your own life, solve business problems, create web apps, design, whether it's magazine covers, all the things that you learned initially, could we double down on that? Now, can I turn everybody into rock stars overnight? I think so. Everybody's already pretty close, right? But even if I can't get you to where, you're like a full firm developer, that's not necessary. Like with the technologies that we have, your knowledge of whatever you know. I saw so many people that knew things. There was one person who submitted who used recipes that they made for like food and turned it into a new recipe book that helped you like, age slower. That was a crazy cool idea. They didn't know anything about vibe coding, but they knew everything about their history creating recipes. And so, what I'm going to challenge everyone on here today is it's not about becoming something you're not, it's about expressing who you are through these tools. And so, that is the aim of these vibe sessions. There will be different themes, and I'll talk about that in a second here. But the core is, again, support you on your journey beyond just introduction. How y'all feel about that? Let me know in the comments. Y'all feeling okay about that? Or y'all like, you know what? I'm good how I am. I don't really want any help. I'm okay. Awesome. I'm glad everybody is excited for this. Let's talk about the how. So there's really three things to look at here. And today's session is going to be focused on web apps. So that's what we're here for. For everyone who's joined today, we're here to talk web apps. So if you're kind of like, wait, I didn't know which one I was coming into, that's okay. I'll shape it. We'll talk. And you'll know for every session coming up, you'll be kind of aware and ready to go. But essentially, what we're looking at is when it comes to vibe coding, there's lots of things you can do, but areas where like there's no doubt you don't have to be technical and you literally only need to know what you know already are these three areas. To make a website, this is like 2025. Almost everyone's experienced a website or some kind of website maker. So the burden of knowing everything about website is super low. You don't have to learn anything about a server, no kind of like coding connections, no web service, any of that. You just literally can make websites. Anybody can make a website. So that's why web apps is such a powerful place because you don't have to be complex, you don't have to load a lot of coding, and anybody can troubleshoot. And if I make a website, I can give it to you and you can use it. If you give me a website, I can use it. Websites are super easy because we've had 20, maybe 30 years of browser technology. So that's why number one, web apps can be a universal place where no matter how technical, where you are in your background, you can do some things. You can make a website for somebody at in your network. You got an upcoming anniversary. You can make a cool web portal with pictures from your anniversary. Like there's no limit with web. The same thing goes with visual design. You guys learned that hands on last week. No matter what, I can make an image, I can make a cool video. There's so much you can do regardless, whether you're using a cool, like that amazing tool they provide those credits for, whatever. The point is like design, you don't have to be a real designer. You don't have to know all the technical ins and outs of design to do vibe design. So that's why we brought that up as another one of the types. And then the third type, this is for those that may be business oriented. The point I'll say to you is like, this is one of the biggest places we're seeing. Companies are innovating, like people inside their companies are innovating and transforming their job trajectory because they're making local based apps that can solve problems in their business. So literally say you have a job where your job is like to download the spreadsheet and process it. Well, if you keep that all local on your computer anyway, you're literally just working in Excel. It's never leaving your computer or anything. You can make a HTML, JavaScript, and CSS business app that does all the processing of that data right there on your computer. You don't have to worry about security because I'm not sending it anywhere. I'm not like, loading it into any other tool. I'm not, storing in no other database. I'm just literally doing processing of the daily work processes I was already doing at my job. So I just wanted to pose these three to you as we go forward from today, because each session will be one of these. We gave options, but now you have a better understanding. And my point is like, this is where we can meet each other where we are. You notice none of the things I have listed here, you have to be technical or you have to like know something outside of you at a high level. You either know what kind of app problem you want to solve, you know what kind of design stuff you want to do, or you know what kind of business problem you want to solve. Any questions, just go ahead and put it in the comments here and I'll answer some questions for a second on what we have here so far. Oh yeah, so again, I'll post a link again for everybody to grab some times. So while this is up, I'll let everyone kind of continue to ask questions. But if you didn't sign up for a session, I'll post that link towards the end here for people to sign up and create a new session. To sign up for all the upcoming sessions, you can tell me which sessions you're interested in. The next one tomorrow on Thursday will be vibe design, and I think next week will be business apps focus. I'm gonna check a couple more of the questions, make sure we're all coming in here. Let me check again, see here if there's any more. Okay. And so today's session, again, what I'll be covering with the remaining time here, the last 30, is going to be around web focus. So we're looking at web apps and how to make web apps. Um, my question to you, uh, what were you looking to get out of today's session before you signed up? It's okay to say, I didn't know what I was signing up for. I just signed up for anything. Or you can say, I'm interested now. Or you can answer based on what you heard us say about web apps focus. But just let's take a little second here for everybody. I'll give it maybe a second for maybe 5 or 6 people to comment. But, what were you looking to get out of today's session? And based on this focus on web apps, what would you do with that? Or what would you want to learn about web app with vibe coding? Keep letting us know. I'm waiting to see a couple in the comments. Keep them coming. Waiting for a couple more in the comments. If you're on the call, go ahead and post it in the comments. What were you looking to get out of today's session? I got a couple. Got one coming in. There we go. I have no idea today. Okay, good. One person said how to make a live app, vibe coding for building web apps. What are the vulnerabilities I should be aware of when vibe coding? Yep, we got some good ones there. Keep a couple more coming in. Excited to notice bias. Okay, yeah, that's an interesting one. Definitely some good stuff there. Couple more prompts. Okay, I'll give you some prompts. There'll be some prompt display. You'll get that for sure. Okay, I'm gonna give a few more minutes coming in. AI agents. We got a couple more prompts. Come on, one more. We'll be good to go. All right. I'm just making a note of everyone's points as I get ready to come here today. We'll come touch on some of those as we swing around. All right. Here we go. We're gonna publish that. Okay, so I appreciate everybody. Build things to make money. I was waiting on somebody to say, I literally was like, at some point, someone's gonna say, can I make some money? So, like, just to kind of let that brew, the short is like throughout the sessions you're going to learn today, you will learn things that you can make money from. Like these are little like real skill sets you can apply to whatever things you do, whatever job you're at, whether that's design work, whether that's helping people with web solutions for their problems, or even helping create business apps in your job role. So that is exactly what we're going to be tuning into today. So I'm going to jump into it and kind of walk through a little bit what we're going to cover. We're actually do some of the things, and then we're going to end on a assignment for everybody to be able to send in, for as far as a follow up from today. So let's move on. So the 4 items I will cover. Again, this is really stuff that you might have heard a little bit about. I wanted to make it so it's not all completely alien to you. So that if you attended the last session, you should have a good sense of some of this stuff. So the first thing I'm going to go over, like again, what is vibe coding, just to set the floor for everybody that might not be aware. Then we're going to dig into 3 steps. And I think if you know these 3 steps today, everything else you'll learn just by doing it. So I'm going to teach you, what is vibe coding clearly, but double down on what we showed last time of how to create PRDs. Creating product requirement documents is like the you know season in the pot. It's like the main first step before you make a good meal. Like if you season the meat, you season all your foods, then the meal overall is going to be better downstream. And so that's where we'll spend a little bit of time there again, just recapping what we learned last time. And then the new thing I'm going to teach you is I'm going to show you different coding platforms. There's a vibe coding platform for everybody. And I mean that to say, like, if you completely don't want to ever be technical at all, there's a platform for that. If you want to go, progressively deeper over time, there are other platforms for that. And if you want to just be really full control, there's platforms for that. And so I'm not going to cover every platform in the game, but at least give you a lexicon of how to look at tools. And then lastly, I'm going to teach you the two most important things in vibe coding: how to stake and how to debug. It's so much easier than you think. So the good news is it's really easy. But if you have these skill sets, I'm pretty confident you can start vibe coding no matter where you are in your skill set. So let's start with what vibe coding is. This should be a repeat for everybody. Just quick repeat. Vibe coding is customizing, modifying, or creating any kind of app, game, or UI using agentic coding tools. The key difference here is like it's a subset of coding, meaning I don't have to fully know all things about coding, but the more I know about it, or even the more I'm willing to know about it, I'll get better and smarter over time. What you're really looking to do is bring novel functionality, configure UI, UX, maybe, add some like applications or build something, deploy some kind of applications, maybe for your team or for your company or for some kind of personalized use case. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. But if you know, like, okay, the base thing that makes something vibe coding is I'm using agentic tools, then like vibe coding is a means to an end. The end is to make something. I either want to make an app or make a site or make a feature or make a product. There's something I want to make. So, how we vibe code really is less important than what we make. Again, there's tips on like how you can be better and all that kind of stuff. But what I'm going to do is give you the initial knowledge. And the assignment for today is really for you to go explore. And it should be a really easy one just to create some stuff and try some things out. So, first things first, just to recap, what do I mean by creating a PRD? Now, this one here, we did it together, but I'm just going to do it again one more time just so we all can see it because it's such an easy process and it's super straightforward. But sometimes, like, it can be complex in people's understanding. So, just from what we saw again on last class, um, the core is like you can go get a document, any document you want to download or use, and you can upload it into any LLM and use it to kind of like season the ground or make the soil ready to create new product ideas. And so I'm going to show you how that looks here. I'm going to switch my screen over here, and then I'm going to share just this screen. There we go. Everyone see ChatGPT now? Awesome. So first things first, I can take any product or any document I find online, any documents, and add them over. And so what that's going to look like is if I go here and I'm going to go to my seeding documents. Here we go. So here I have this document called the consciousness continuum. Like that document, I got to refresh, drag it in. There we go. This document I can literally add any document. For people that want to find this document, you can find it here on the Chrome. So if I go into here, remember this is the old courses page, just for everyone that wants to know. I put it in the chat just for everybody so they can have it. Here's the chat. I can scroll down and then to the same place like I had before where I go to recordings and assignments. I can go right to where it was with those additional resources from before. So you can go right here. And then you'll see in there's that same folder before. You have all the resources. You'll see there's a document called seed here. And I know some people, maybe you're wondering like, okay, if I have um if I don't have paid chat GPT, I might not be able to upload the documents. But if you have a free Perplexity account, you can use that too. Literally, you just need any LLM that lets you upload documents. Then you'll see this one document here. That's this consciousness document. This is the one I'm using for the exercise today. So literally, if you're following along, you can just download this document. I'll put it in the chat as well, just so everyone has that link. I'll put this in the chat. There you go. So that's the document. Literally, I just download that document. Then once it's on my computer, I can go to a screen like ChatGPT. Now just go back to sharing and show that screen. So I can go to ChatGPT and then add in that document and then give it some text of what I want it to do. So I can say, let's prime. This is me like pre-prompting. So before I go to do what I wanted to do, I'm kind of again seasoning the pot. So I'm asking it, hey, can you break down this document? This is making the LLM understand. So then I can, on top of that understanding, ask it to do something. So if I press enter, this is going to review that document. Again, it could be any document you load in. I can load any document I want. So right now I'm using GPT Pro here. Let me switch that to instant so I can get it quick for you all, just for quick turnaround. And then I'm gonna do a new one. There we go. So let me go ahead and add that document back in there. So here's my document. I've added it in there. Again, I'm seasoning the pot by again adding in this comment here. This is gonna quickly break down, review that document, and give it an understanding. Now that I have understanding, I can come back to that same chat. Again, we've kind of, pre-warmed up or seasoned the chat. Now that I've seasoned the chat, I can ask it to come up with ideas. So I can go in here, take some of the text, and post something like this. Because now that no matter what document I load it understands how that document works and what it talks about. Now that that's kind of conditioned, I can tell it to use that understanding and everything from the document to create ideas. And so I can say, give me some improved ideas that can be making complementary apps. I'll just use this. I'm just taking this from a previous, boom, client side only. This is an important piece of text because what you're telling the tool to do is to, instead of just like making anything, the ideas are all encapsulated in a format of a web app. And so you tell it, hey, give me 10 ideas, 10 novel ideas, but they need to only be web apps that are client side, CSS, HS, HTML, and JavaScript. For those that don't know web development, like what does that mean? Client side means that it will only run on your computer. It won't need some separate server for someone to use it. So this again really arms us to make self-enclosed, easy to maintain applications, which is perfect for someone who doesn't have a lot of technical coding. Where vibe coding instantly gets complex is when you try to deploy enterprise platforms. That's going to take a lot. You got to have like understanding of server, you got to have understanding of GitHub, you got to be able to publish and do gits commits. Skip all of that. And the way to skip all of that is again to focus just on client side web applications. Now that I clicking this in, it's going to generate ideas that take what it understood and put it in the framing of a web app. And so I see a couple questions came in while this is loading. I'll kind of answer some. Yeah, this is varies based on tools. Now, again, you can go into the settings in any tool. So people are asking questions about like what happens if like I provide certain copyrighted content. Like how does this manage? Obviously, all top level ethics apply, regardless of what platform you on. Do good. Don't steal other people's ideas. Like these are base things that cover whatever tool. So your internal ethics always kind of are key things. But you have stuff like personalization in ChatGPT. This is in every other tool as well, where you can turn off certain things. There's also like data controls where you can remove or you can manage chats, you can delete data, you can turn off it so that it sends data to their model for everybody. So there's a lot of control in the market today to make sure you're generally protecting within that system. And then there's other things like I mentioned before, just best practices to make sure you're handling and managing accordingly. But again, keep in mind, I primarily use this technology that I'm showing you, this technique, with open source concepts. So, like I just shared with you the unified theory of consciousness. That was a document that I produced maybe a year or two ago. It's fully open source and it's legitimate mathematical framework for consciousness. Now, again, the reason why I chose that concept is so alien to any one of us, so that you can really understand that you don't have to know anything about these stuff to manage these processes and do the work that we're doing together. And yeah, you can totally. So another question was like, could I ask ChatGPT on how I should be improving or how can I do this better? And so just to show you, that is our next step. So now that it generated some ideas, what we're going to do is have it establish a floor. So just to show you what that looks like, I can say, can you rank those ideas out of 7 measures, each of them, and normalize each of them getting a score out of 10, and then normalize the overall score. So just showing you that here. This is in a way is asking ChatGPT to make up the measures. I'm not telling it what measures to think of. But what this is going to do once it's done is now has an understanding that gives it a floor to then create new ideas on. Because if I just ask it to make ideas from scratch, it's going to make random stuff. But once it's got a floor, then I can ask it to make ideas that are better than everything you gave me. And so it's this process that we're making it better at being intellectually sound using sequential prompting. And I know this is very complex for some, but I really want this is a very important concept that if you understand this, even with no technicality, no technical skill set, this basic, what you just saw me do, of how like I can season the AI, so like get it to think about something, then ask it to do something, then ask it to create a floor, so understand how all the things that it did correlate and rank them. Once it's got this ranking, now I can ask it to generate things on top of that understanding. So you see, like I'm essentially establishing these understanding levels of like these floors in a building of understanding. And so as the AI is like doing the steps that I'm asking it to do, it's building the foundation to then do bigger and bigger things. Any questions on that? Everyone not following what I'm sharing so far? I want to make sure I take a little time because it's a lot to understand conceptually, even though it's really simple stuff. Open the floor for questions people might have in the chat. Yeah, that's another thing. The reason why I use um, documents for seeding is because it lets you go really deep. So, like, even if I have an idea I want, like, I want to build a product that is a recipe book for some kind of thing, I can then add in documents to have history of recipes, or like a document that has a history of like how to make cookbooks, so that like my idea then is seasoned in a way, or it has more robustness for the AI to build from. So seeding lets you go beyond the limits of just prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is cool, it's great, but like it puts a lot of work on you to spend hours prompting. Whereas seeding can let you accelerate that whole entire process. Another couple questions came in, I see. Let me check these. What is the reason that sequential prompting makes it better? Oh, it's because again, like as you noticed, I'm taking what normally it would do in like it'll do 5 things in one step. I'm breaking them up into separate steps. So let's just say if I had like, let's just say all these tools use tokens. If I only had 500 tokens, if I try to have it do all 5 steps, each step is getting 100 tokens. This is not one for one, but get the idea generally. If versus if I break them up across multiple prompts in a sequence, then I can use all of its tokenization, all of its thinking to solve individual pieces. So it gets more robust and more deep. This is important, especially if you're using free tools that don't have as many limits. And sometimes they have limits on number of posts. So you're balancing it. But it generally lets you get better, more robust answers, even with the simplest models. Can we use any published white papers? Yeah, any again, you can use, there's no limit of what you can use technically. There's no like, oh, you can't use that. But I'm just saying our ethics, my ethics always exceed whatever. Like my ethics are bound to me, not whatever form I'm in. So if I'm in a nightclub or if I'm at a bar, if I'm on a tree, like Sam I am with green eggs and ham. If I'm in a car, if I'm in a boat, I still am ethical. So my ethics don't change regardless of what format or where I'm at. So just things that you wouldn't want to do or you respect you would do obviously apply. But there's a huge world of open source white papers out there. There's a huge world of documents and ideas and concepts on GitHub or any website that have like ease of use kind of terms, Creative Commons use. So and then there's tons of just opinionated pieces that can be used. Like there's a huge realm even outside of like private stuff that you can still party with here. I'm getting there one step at a time. I appreciate everybody. So, what in that exactly would you need to state so it's not just client side only, where it could be accessible to others? So, client side doesn't mean it can't be accessible to others. Client side means it's except all you need is that actual website itself. So, let's just say I make a website right now and we produce one. I can then upload that website to any URL, like if I have a GoDaddy or a DreamHost or anything like that, I can upload it, and then once it's uploaded, I can download. I mean, anybody can go to that website. So client side doesn't mean that it's only on your only on your computer only. It means that that project runs only on that person's computer. So I can literally give you the zip file and you can unzip it and then run the website on your computer, or we can throw it up on a server like DreamHost and anybody can access it there. Hey, so you're a creative, not techie. Great. So Susan, you're going to see that Thursday's session is going to be like this, but all focused on design. So that should be more. But hey, we're all here to grow. So hopefully by the end of this, you get at least some growth on this technical side. Because if you are a creative who just gets a little bit of this stuff today, you're going to be dangerous. Should you all add the seeding documents first, or can you add them as you go? Yeah, I always add them first. And then sometimes I even continue to add them with every prompt so that it stays anchored. But the idea is like I'm doing some kind of pre-seasoning first. That's why I'm asking it to break it down. And so if I just scroll down just for everybody a little bit, you can see here, it now ranked each of those ideas. And you'll usually get something between like the 60s all the way up to the early 80s. Maybe sometimes you'll get early 90s. And that's it. It came up with its own scores, like how original the idea, how feasible it is, the user impact. It's going to vary on what it comes up with, but it came up with its ideas. So now that it has this floor, I can then come back to it and say, generate 10 ideas better. If I tried this without any of the sequential prompting, it wouldn't know what to even make better than what. So you see how like I seasoned the pot, had it generate ideas so it can interpret it. Then I asked it to score it so it can better understand its surroundings and like the general problem space. That's what it's called. It's called the problem space, meaning like the full geometric space of like what these ideas can produce. So now it has a good snapshot, like a survey of potential ideas it can make up. Now with that survey or that anchor point, I can then, just as everyone knows the idea of triangulation, if I know two data points, then I can generate the third data point. If I know what this is about and I know what ideas are, and then I know how those ideas rank, I can then use that floor, that basement that I've built to then build a new set of ideas. So now when I generate these ideas, from now on, I've seasoned the AI to be ready to do really powerful things. And so that's what sequential prompting is all about. There's stuff I do pre what I wanted to do, and there's stuff I do after I wanted to do. And the whole goal is like at the end of the sequence, it could do better and more than what it could do before. So now you see these ideas again, are more robust, more interesting, more compelling. And then I can say at the end of it, can you give me a final table with all ideas ranked? Again, some tons of good comments. Are there complications with seeding documents you can give us a link to? Compilations of seeding documents? Yeah, there's tons of like seeding documents that we'll be publishing to the showcase. So I just gave you one example. I'll be sharing a ton of them. So you can literally take the documents I shared and then paste them into yours so you don't have to learn all like or copy all the text that I'm doing right now. So then boom, now I got a final table with all the top ideas ranked. From here, then I can ask it to build out any one of those. So like again, we can see now based on the criteria, here are those top ideas that it came up with. I don't know what manifold mind is. Like, I mean, again, it just came up with it, but I'm going to learn once I use it. So the whole thing is like, I'm showing you through today's example. You notice I didn't have to know what consciousness was. I didn't have to know what the formulas were. Like there's very little you have to know to explore on these things with these techniques that I'm showing. And why that's so important is once you actually know something, so it's related to something you're familiar with, if you're a creative or you're a business owner or you're someone who's worked in wood shop or whatever, like if you know your space or your world, you leverage these skill sets of sequential prompting to even be more powerful because it's understanding agnostic. So now I can say, can you make a full PRD, which is product requirements document for Manifold? Now, once this document is made, now I have what I need to start vibe coding. And so I'm gonna spend the last few minutes here kind of showing you some of the vibe coding tools. But if you understand how to make product requirement documents that are sound and interesting and good, you can then take these documents. And again, I'm just using 4.0 for this. If you wanted to like make them more robust, you could switch over and use GPT-5 or more powerful models. But just to show you, even with the most simplest model, again, once you have a PRD, I can then copy and paste this into any um, vibe coding tools. So I'm going to show now with some of the remaining time a couple of those vibe coding tools. And then you'll be able to see how I can use this to then vibe code. And while that's going, feel free to add any more comments in the chat. I'll try to keep working through those as we're going. So moving over here, we're going to go back to showing the presentation. There's really two things to understand when it comes to tools. And I'm going to go ahead and share this screen instead. Oh, here we go. Can everyone see all the stuff? Everyone can see now? Okay, so there's really a spectrum here. Think on the left side, I'm completely non-technical. I don't want to touch anything code-wise generally. I'm just super hands-on. Now, these are just 5 tools that I'm sharing today. There's maybe about 60 different platforms out there. And so definitely explore, look up vibe coding tools, experiment with them. But if you just understand this, every tool you'll see will either land on the left or closer to the right side of this spectrum. So if you know any of these tools, put in the comments if you know it, like if you've used them before, or if you know of Lovable or Replit or Cursor, just put in the comments if you've used any of these before, or if you know of them before. And let me know if you know any of these. I'm going to walk through Lovable, and I'm going to show Cursor as 2 examples on the spectrum today. But does anybody use Lovable before? Let me know in the comments. Looks like I got a couple comments just came in. Yeah, so we got a couple people. I've used it. I've used none of these. Nope. Heard a lot of people really liked it. I've used Claude. That somewhere closer to the left side. You could use some of these tools that have coding baked right into them. I've noticed that like with their free and their like non-pro plans are not as good generally. but you can use them. Like there's no reason you have to go even to these tools. You can literally just use ChatGPT for this. And you can see that in my example here. If I just tell ChatGPT to instead just go ahead and make it, can I say, can you make a wireframe in HTML, JS, and CS of it now? And it'll go do it. So like as I show you these other tools, don't think you have to go use them. But again, just keeping in mind, like it makes it easier. It kind of they do them like they all have their perks and their pros and cons. So again, I could make it right in ChatGPT, but again, it has some limitations. Usually good. It has variations based on what model I'm using and how like my plan is set up. So going back to what you saw me show here, just bringing you back to this screen. Lovable is what I'm going to show, and then cursor, just really quickly so you can kind of get a sense. You'll instantly, when you see my screen, you'll be like, oh, I get why that's technical or not, or I understand that. It'll be super obvious. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Lovable here. So we're going to go pull up Lovable. You can tell like a non-technical vibe coding tool instantly by how it just places you in this kind of a view. So you can see here, this is Lovable. I'm on Lovable's website. If I just go in the text box, I'm literally ready to start going to work. But let me just go ahead and log in here real quick. I'm going to click here. And I'm going to sign in. And I'm going to click sign in. All right. Switch over here. There we go. All right. So you can see I'm back in here. I'm inside of Lovable. I've signed it, made me re-sign back in. But again, if I take that product idea and I literally just paste it in there, and say again, it should be client side HTML only, JavaScript and CSS. Everyone can see that on my screen. When I click go, you see it's doing all the work for me. This is again on that spectrum on the like fully left side of like non-technical. As you'll notice, like the whole UI is meant to kind of abstract me from the code. So as it's doing everything, I'm not like being asked to be in the code actually like, figuring these things out or like working on it. I can see on the left side though, it's explaining to me what it's doing. So again, on this example, when you see any tool that looks kind of like this, whether it's Bolt, whether it's Lovable, whether it's ChatGPT, you're generally in a non-technical tool. So if you feel like, hey, I'm not technical at all, I don't really want to get there, you can generally live over here and you can grow over time. Like remember, I don't have to be technical, but I can become technical just by learning at what it's doing. Okay. Oh, it's creating the document for me. All right. It's editing the CSS. Okay. So I understand that that's going to be something it needs. Oh, it's creating the configuration files. I can learn over time what it's doing and start to get better and better at understanding the code. So this is again, for those who are non-technical, I recommend starting with non-technical tools like Lovable, Bolt. All of them have like some kind of free tool or free trial. And then some of them we'll be doing partnerships with down the road. So you'll get access to credits as you continue to come back to do stuff with us. But as we've closed up here today, we've really covered three things. I know I had four I wanted to. We weren't able to get started early. So I'll stick around for questions if anybody wants to stick around anytime longer. If anyone has to drop, I fully understand. But what I'm going to give you now is the assignment for today. And so your assignment is to take this following form that I'm about to put in the chat and explore and share what you've learned in an actual PRD idea that you've created from the process we've made. So I'm gonna submit. I'm gonna put this here, and then I'm gonna add for everybody so everyone can see it. Add the permission. Then I'm gonna boom this out. So it seems like I gotta re-add everybody's permissions for this. There you go. Then I'll just give you guys all this. Then let me go to save. All right, I'm put this in the chat. Make sure everyone's got it. I'm putting in the chat now. This is the link to the survey to submit your assignment. There you go. Everyone should have that form. And again, the main assignment here is just to submit a PRD for a product idea that you created. I know we did a little bit of that last week's session, but some people chose different tasks to do. So I figured this would be a great one to reinforce the skill sets. Really simple, straightforward. Everyone kind of leverage it so that you can be able to continue forward. And so let me know if anyone doesn't have issues or anyone has issues opening that form. And I'll do it by sessions, assignments. Okay, and then let me give 1 second. I'm going to add one more question here. Let me just add this question. I think somebody just posted me personally. He sent me a message. So you can, again, for those who didn't book or want to know when the next times are, we are every Thursday going forward. Tuesday and Thursdays, we'll have sessions. Yeah, I can stick around and do a quick intro for Cursor. For those that I know we're a little late, so if anyone has to drop, I'll let you. I know we're all staying on, so I'm gonna go maybe 5-10 minutes longer here, just to give everybody a little bit of a view. So, you now have the assignment survey. I'm gonna cover Cursor, and then I'm gonna spend the last time covering any questions people have. So appreciate everybody who might have to drop. Again, we'll send more updates for the upcoming sessions, and you'll be able to use this link to book new times second here. So let me go ahead and move this, and I'm gonna go ahead and show Cursor in a second here. Let me go pull up here, and then I'm gonna put up, go back to this. Okay, perfect. So we talked a little bit about Bolt. We talked about Lovable. We're gonna look at Cursor now. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch over my sharing. I'm gonna share my entire desktop just to show Cursor. So I need to stop sharing. Let me do share entire screen. And go entire screen. Okay, can I do? Okay, that's showing. Now let me just re-pull up Cursor. Here we go. So I'm gonna re-share just this Cursor screen, see if it works. I'm gonna drag this over. Then I'm gonna hide this. Let's see if this works. Cursor. See if it shares. It's gonna show. Can you all see cursor loading up? Is it not loading? All right, I think that's people are not able to see it. I'm gonna reshare this and try a different screen. Let's see. All right, this should work. Can you see my screen now? Can you see cursor showing up? Okay, it looks like some no's. It's kind of hard to get on the full screen. How about now? Does this work? Can you see cursor? All right, looks like, okay, I'm gonna try this. Can you see cursor? How about now? Yeah, there we go. Appreciate the patience. It's so crazy getting all these tools to work. Okay, so just so everyone can see, I'm gonna open up a project. So I'm gonna just grab a project here. Let's just say, and so inside a cursor, you really have three panes or three sections you're gonna see. Yeah. So, just a quick question somebody asked: are the upcoming vibe coding session web apps? Yes, they're gonna be a continuation of this. I'm gonna do a quick cover of some of the things we talked about before, and I'm gonna go deeper. And then vibe design will be its own thing. And then each session will have its own kind of content. So um as far as threads, this is going to cover everything related to how we're able to do web apps, and then the vibe design will be everything design, and then the business apps will be all things business. But now that we're here, I can go ahead and show you here. Oh yeah, so I'm gonna show you staking as we close out this here, so you'll see cursor. So staking is all kind of part of this whole thing here. So just so you can see, we all can see cursor now. I'm gonna go ahead and move this out the way a little bit. So you'll see here inside of this view, I'm looking at cursor. There's three things you'll see in cursor, and it's really easy to understand actually. So when you install or set up cursor and you open up a project, literally open up any folder on your computer, you'll see on the left the files in that folder. This is your like file library. From here, I can literally like drag files in to chat if I want to use them or like talk about them or code against them. I can open up the file. If I click on it, it'll actually show me what's in that file. It's literally the file repository. In the middle is where you view the actual content of whatever files, code, whatever you have showing in your views inside a cursor. If you're looking at something on the left, you'll see it in the middle. Now on the right side, this is where you're actually doing the vibe coding. This is where you can actually talk to the model, send any text, and then essentially choose what models you want to use. For the most part, you're just using auto mode, but just think of this is where you actually do your vibe coding stuff. So, like for example, if I wanted to take that PRD, and so I can go back to where we were, I'm gonna go grab that um, PRD that we had generated. So I can scroll back up here, copy that, and I can literally paste it in here. So you can literally see this is kind of why it's important to like create that PRD. Because again, it kind of tells the AI what all you want to build. But what is this idea of staking? What do I mean by staking? Like if right now, if I asked it to go make this full PRD, it could do it, but it might not be fully fleshed out. So what I could do is I could say, instead of doing it immediately, I could say, take below the full PRD, take the full PRD below and generate a new README file that breaks down how the UI, so the user experience or the user interface, will work, and save that in a file called um, you can call that UI.md. Now, the reason why .md is important is called Markdown. That is the file type that's going to let you store and content and text where the AI can read it again later. It's just literally a text file that AI can read really well. So this is what I'm doing is called staking. Instead of me going and like trying to climb the mountain from bottom to top instantly, I'm using this to create a document that serves as a stake so that then I can climb higher in one go. Instead of like climbing very much to the top, so generating everything from just text alone, I'm asking it to make new additional documents or to stake different documents so that I can use those. So in this example, it's not going to do any coding. It's going to just create a document of what kind of coding it should do. And so you see, I can use staking for a lot of things. I can have it flesh out ideas. I can have it review how features work and document them. The whole idea of staking is you're having AI generate README files. That's the simplest idea. Like it's super simple. And then now I can use multiple README files to then tell it how to work. So I can say, take this Omni guide, which tells you how to code, let's just say. And then once it makes that that UI.md file, I can drag that. And then I see I have the unified theory of consciousness here. I can drag that in. So I can say, hey, use this too, and create documents that then I can use multiple documents at once. So imagine if I had to write that prompt as a prompt engineer, that would be a pretty crazy prompt to write. I have to write the PRD, I have to write like how the universal theory of consciousness works. I have to write how the new UI should work for this. I have to write it all up. But instead, now I'm having the tool do the writing for me, and I can just drag it in. And so now I can say, can you generate a full README for how the application should work based on the PRD and the um, assistant, the additional documents. Then always again for staking, save your results to a file called readme.md. Boom. So today you literally just learned how to use Cursor. You learned how to use Lovable. We learned how to generate PRDs. And you literally learned how to do staking. I mean, you're pretty much vibe coders now. You should be good to go. So with that time, I know we lost a few people and we set up a little over, so we're going to be wrapping up here. I do want to give everybody access again to the form so that you can send in your PRD for today's session. And I'm going to go ahead and answer any remaining questions in the chat as we kind of close out here. Oh, yeah, yeah. So I'm going to be sharing a ton of different resource documents. Shout out to Melissa. So Melissa's one of the phenomenal veterans who've been part of season 1 and 2 of the vibe coding course that we did before to the sessions last week. And we're going to be announcing the awards to everybody for that. We wanted to wait till we kicked off these sessions with all the new folks so you all could see. And so this week we'll be announcing the awards from the previous vibe coding projects that were submitted. And she's one of those rock stars that was in there. So yeah, Melissa, we will have new documents, new resources coming soon for you. We haven't announced all of them yet here. But again, you can see you can submit your assignment. Paula submitted that form. So you have the ability to submit your assignment. You can sign up for upcoming sessions.